A screening result is a probability, not a verdict. Every VISTA IQ result, low, moderate, or high cancer risk, reflects a mathematical likelihood of malignancy, not a definitive diagnosis. Low cancer risk means around a 2% malignancy probability. Moderate is around 25%. High is around 50%. The 10% sampling threshold sits above low and below moderate. So both moderate and high are, by design, well above that line. And here's the important bit. When the VISTA IQ result and the sampling result disagree, that isn't usually an error. It's expected behavior of a screening tool. Let's walk through 3 real scenarios where you might see this. Scenario 1. VISTA IQ has returned a low cancer risk, but cytology or histopathology has come back malignant. First, the numbers. VISTA IQ sensitivity is around 90%, with a negative predictive value of 98%. From every 100 masses classified as low, 98 will be correctly identified as benign. Around 2 may still harbor malignancy. False negatives are rare, but they can happen. The frame. The standard recommendation after a low result is routine monitoring, not sampling. So most low masses are not biopsied in the first place. When they are, it's usually because clinical findings raised a concern. And that clinical follow-up is the safety net doing its job. What to do? VISTA IQ supports, but does not replace, clinical judgment. If clinical findings suggest concern despite a low result, investigate further. What to say to the owner? The screening flagged this as low risk, but the clinical signs suggested we look further. We caught it through that follow-up. Scenario 2. VISTA IQ has returned a moderate or high cancer risk, but cytology or histopathology has come back benign. Important, this is not a false positive. Cancer risk is a probability, not a diagnosis. Moderate risk is around 25% malignancy. High risk is around 50%. Both are well above the 10% sampling threshold, but by design, a proportion of cases will return benign. A benign sample after a moderate or high result is reassuring, not a system error. The key here is to set expectations before the scan. Owners should know from the start that a moderate or high result means further diagnostics, and that a benign outcome is entirely possible and very welcome. What to say to the owner? The screening flagged it as worth checking. We checked and the news is good. The system worked the way it's meant to. Scenario 3 is the exception that needs extra care. VISTA IQ has returned a high cancer risk with a mast cell tumor diagnostic flag, but cytology has come back benign. 2 important points. First, benign cytology alone is not definitive here. Cytology can appear benign on aspiration even when histopathology later confirms malignancy. Second, the MCT algorithm carries significant weight, approximately 90% specificity and 70% positive predictive value. Out of 10 cases flagged as MCT, 7 are confirmed MCT, 2 are a different malignancy, and only 1 is genuinely benign. So when the MCT flag is raised, a single benign cytology isn't the end of the story. When clinically appropriate, recommend biopsy and histopathology to confirm. What to say to the owner? The screening was specific enough that 1 benign sample isn't the end of the story. A biopsy gives us the certain answer. 3 things to hold across every scenario. 1. A screening result is a probability, not a verdict. Disagreement between the scan and the sample is information, not a failure. 2. Set owner expectations before the scan. A moderate or high risk means further diagnostics, and a benign result after sampling is a welcome outcome. Say so up front. 3. The MCT flag carries significant clinical weight. Only 1 in 10 MCT flagged cases is genuinely benign. When clinically appropriate, biopsy and histopathology confirm. That's how to interpret and communicate unexpected VISTA IQ results. As always, your customer success manager and the HT Vet support team are here whenever a case doesn't behave as expected.